Wow, that was a good one. Hello, friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Rowell. All right, doesn't look like I'm going to be spending a whole lot of time outside today, so I need a good little indoor project, and fortunately, I got a good little indoor project. All right, as you know, I have a number of clocks that I've inherited from family members over the years. This was my mom and my dad's clock from when I was kind of a kid. My great-grandparents' clock. This was my father's Cuckoo Clock that he picked up from Germany one year when he and my mom went on a cruise. And one of the things about these weight-based clocks like this one here and the grandfather is how long you can run them when you have the weights pulled all the way to the top. Now, generally clocks of this type are what they call 7-day or 8-day clocks, but sometimes they have like 3 and 4-day clocks too. Both of these are 7-day clocks, which means if you pull the weights all the way up to the top, the clock will run for a week. And that's very easy to control in a grandfather clock because the clock is designed with the enclosure in mind. So the enclosure is large enough to accommodate the movement of the weights from top to bottom and give you that 7-day operational period. Same exists with the Cuckoo Clock, but the user needs to be a little bit more involved on this one because you need to have enough room below the clock so that the weights don't hit the ground. And unfortunately, when I installed this clock in its position, I did not account for that. And so this clock kind of keeps horrible time on a weekly basis because about the point we're getting close to the 7-day period where it needs to be rewound, the weights hit the ground, and as soon as the weights are sitting on the ground, they don't provide as much force to keep the clock going, and the clock starts either losing or gaining time, depending on the circumstance. In this case, I think losing time. So I've been adjusting this thing faster and faster and faster, and all of a sudden I realized, wait a second, these weights are sitting on the ground. That's throwing everything out of balance. So I've been kind of watching it kind of at the beginning of the cycle, you know, after the first couple days after I set the weights, where the weights are still doing their job and the clock is running really, really fast. But what I want to do today is I want to raise this clock up. It's only got to go up another inch or two because then that'll give me enough time where when the week is up, because I rewind the clocks every Sunday morning. And so when I get up in the morning on Sunday morning, the clocks will still be operating normally because the weights won't be touching the ground. And that's because the clock itself is higher up. So there'll be more chain length before we hit the ground. So that's our task today. We're going to move this thing up, probably 2 or so inches just to make sure that there's plenty of room underneath it. So the first thing I've done is I've taken the weights and the pendulum off. They're just on little hooks and they come off real easy. This makes it a lot easier to pull the clock off the wall without risking damaging anything. Because the truth is this thing is pretty fragile and pretty delicate. It's not made out of plastic, it's not made out of metal, it's made out of wood, and it's like balsa wood. So it's very light and very fragile, can easily be damaged. So before I pulled the clock off the wall, I got up on a chair kind of level with the roof of it just to see how much space I had above me. And I had about 2.5 to 3 inches. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take this screw, which is already in the right place because all I wanted to do is have it kind of centered in this section. So it's already centered. I'm basically just going to move the screw up about 2 or 2.5 inches. And I think doing that, that'll make the clock sit a little higher and it should give me that extra space I need below so that I don't continually run out of chain length and have the clock stop on me. So as I said, I basically just removed the screw out of the hole where it once was, measured 2.5 inches above that and placed a new anchor and screw into the position. Now it looks like in the past I've made adjustments to the wall here and didn't really patch it up. So I think before we close this up too much, what I'm going to do is I'm going to patch up all these holes, repaint it, and make it look nice because, you know, I can do better than this, right? Okay, so I put a little patching compound in there. This big one here is going to take a little bit to dry. The rest of them I'm just kind of filling in a little bit, and I'll be able to wipe the excess off with like a wet paper towel here in a few moments. But I'm going to let this dry for a little while, and then we're going to put a little bit more in here just to make sure it's nice and smooth. I don't want a dent like that in my wall. Once we're done with that, we'll repaint this little section, and then we'll be ready to put the clock back in place. All right, I'm starting to get that hole patched in now and kind of level. It's looking pretty good right now. We're going to let it dry for 10 or 15 minutes. Then we're going to repaint it, let that dry a little bit, and we should be able to get the clock hung back up here in the next 20, 30 minutes or so. Okay, it looks like our patchwork is ready to go here. So I'm going to hit this with a couple of coats of paint, and fortunately I still have a little bit of this left, and even if I don't, I know what the number is. I can go back and get some more. All right, good as new, huh? Yeah, just a little coat of paint on there. It looks pretty good. I'm going to give that a little bit of time to dry. It looks a little discolored right now, but it'll dry a little bit darker. It always does. So give this a good 20 minutes of dry time, and we should be ready to put the clock back up. All right, that looks pretty good. Nice and dry, ready to go. So let's hang up the clock and let's see how it works. All right, back into place. You almost can't tell anything happened. It is a little higher and closer to the roof now, which should hopefully give me enough distance to the floor so that the weights don't end up sitting on the floor anymore. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait another week in order to get the answer to that question, because that's how long it's going to take for this thing to wind down. But it should be in much better shape now. I'm actually going to turn the chiming back on a little bit. I haven't had it on for a while, because I can't have all the clocks going off every 15 minutes. That gets a little much, but sometimes it's fun to turn it back on once in a while and just listen a little bit. So we're going to have this one on for a little while, maybe for a day or two or so, and we'll see what happens. But we'll have a better idea whether I've moved it high enough. It should be high enough off the ground now that there's not any more problems with this, but only time will tell. Anyway, I think that's all that I got for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.